What's up, sprinters? Welcome back to another video. A new patch just dropped, so I'm gonna go over my thoughts on what this means for solo queue and competitive play, so let's get right into it. Alright, so before we get into it, I haven't even taken a look at the patch. I was in classes all day, but regardless, let's see what goes on here. Alright, so first in the patch, we're already getting into heroes. What did they say? More changes and improvements are cooking. First balanced patch of the year. Okay. First up is Countess. We mainly focus on giving her some small stat adjustments to tweak her late game durability, as well as her general slipperiness. Interesting. Base health increased from 550 to 560. Weird. Health growth decreased from 110 to 105, and movement speed decreased from 685 to 680. And the shadow Q duration. Okay, so the Q duration is the most notable change here. In early game, this means essentially you can't land an extra auto. You lose an auto out of the duration. If you queued in and you waited the full like almost 4 seconds and landed as many autos as you could, you lose an auto. Aside from that, these changes don't really mean much, right? So this is not a big deal. Maybe the health growth actually matters, but you know, at level 3 you still have like the same health, but every level after level 3 you have 5 less health per level. So what? That's 15 extra levels, I think. I don't know. So it's not that significant. Maybe 150 HP at most. Countess is still Countess. She'll still tear up solo queue. In terms of competitive, she wasn't really good in competitive anyway, so this doesn't change anything. Let's take a look at Decker. Every team needs a good support hero, so today we're improving Decker. Interesting. Basic physical power increased from 50 to 54. So she'll just be able to harass and lane a lot easier. She's still good. She's better now, which is cool. Drongo, Shrapnel Cannon. Bug fix now correctly states the CC immunity in the description. Okay, cool. I honestly didn't even know that it had CC immunity, so that's pretty good. Gadget is another hero getting some attention this week. Specifically, we've nerfed her Sticky Mine ability. Ooh, they nerfed the hat. Scaling increased from 65% to 70%. Cooldown increased from 8 to 6, 10 to 8. I think I said this on stream. I was like, I don't think she needs a damage nerf, but a cooldown adjustment to the hat is probably necessary. And so I'm actually glad that they did this, because giving it more scaling is actually really, really good. It makes this ability, like, it's not really worse, right? It's not really worse, but it is, it's longer cooldown, but it does more damage, right? So later in the game, instead of getting that feeling where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm not doing any damage, that'll be relieved a little bit. Speed gates, root duration decreased from 1.25 to 1 second. I don't know if this change was necessary. If you got caught in the gate, it was kind of your own doing, right? Because the gate's very easy to dodge. So I don't know if that was... Maybe I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more like verticality or something on the E, so that it's harder for people to dodge. Because a lot of times, unless they're already CC'd, this is hard to land, and I guess that's what this nerf is targeting. Grux. Let's see. Yeah, Grux is OP. Base health decreased from 620 to 600, so that's half an auto. That's pretty significant for lane. Base physical armor decreased from 36 to 32. So I'm not sure how much the armor values actually impact that, but losing, what is that? Like 6% armor or something like that. Yeah, that's pretty significant. Losing 20 health, also pretty significant. So, essentially all this means is early on, Grux won't be able to bully people as hard. Which is good, because Grux is a very, very dominant lane bully and has been really, really strong. Howie. You're never picked in competitive, but that doesn't matter. Landmine. E. Knockback distance on enemy targets decreased, and knockback distance on self increased. I like this change because it means that when you're playing as Howie, you can rotate to places faster. You can... this opens up new... I'm not sure. 20% could be a lot more than or it could be a lot less than I'm thinking, but this could open up like new options for verticality. Like now, for example, if you're playing as Howie, you're in the river, you're getting the river buff, you can throw down your E and jump back up through the fog gate and be in your lane. So that's something that's really, really nice. The utility on the E with this extra 20% is actually really massive. And I like the way that they're kind of engineering this ability to be is like, yeah, use it for yourself, not to CC people most of the time. So I think it's really, really healthy change for Howie. Kolari, let's see. Kolari's 1 to 2 item power spike has been pretty substantial compared to many other heroes. True. Base damage on Deathmark increased. Okay, so we like to see base increases. So it gains 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay. And rank 1 stays the same, so it's not bad. Scaling decreased from 25% to 18%. So essentially, they didn't want to nerf her entirely, so they are giving her higher base. But the 7% scaling hit is actually pretty massive. What you're going to see here is it's not going to be... You're not going to lose that much damage. Mathematically, you should only lose like very, very little. Maybe like 5% to 10% of your burst that you would normally have at this point in time. So it shouldn't be too drastic, which is good. And then Guillotine. Base damage decreased from 183.50, 520 to 173.30, 490. The base damages aren't really too relevant here. Like losing 10, 20, and 30 damage per level isn't something that's absolutely insane, but can be significant under certain circumstances, right? Let's say there was a range for Kolari to kill like a 30 HP range around level 16 could kill like a Grux, for example, right? Now she has to like land an extra auto, or maybe that's even, you know, now she can no longer 1v1 the Grux. You know, you never really know. I don't play enough Kolari to know small details like that, but this could be relevant. If there's any Kolari mains watching this video, let me know if this actually matters. But from the look of it, it doesn't really matter. Chimera, Spirit Regen passive. In-game description now correctly states the duration of 2.5 seconds instead of 3 seconds. Okay. Narbash, Song of My People. Scaling increased from 5% to 10%. That's actually pretty good. Extra scaling is always worth it. Now, granted, I've never played this character. I never plan to play this character. Maybe one day for a video, I don't know. Maybe I'll do some weird like Narbash mid or something like that. But so I don't exactly know what his E scales off of, but regardless, doubling the scaling on it is going to be pretty essential, even if you're not building like, let's say it scales off of AP. Even if you're not building AP, just having an extra 5% healing is really, really good. Sevarog. Base health increased from 605 to 615, and the minion healing is increased from 10 to 15%. So what this means for Sevarog is he's still gonna get destroyed by Grux. He's still gonna have a very hard time in laning phase. If you last hit with your Q, you're gonna have a better time. You know, you Q the wave, you're gonna regen more HP, whatever. But this isn't necessarily enough to like bring Sevarog into meta, right? Because you still have, well, we're about to see Steel here, but for as far as we know, we still have Steel, we still have Grux. Grux is still very, very playable, very, very good character, right? We still have those are like the big two that were running in off lane, and then you'd see some like unique picks in there. Like sometimes you'd see like in solo queue you'd see like Howie or Kolari or Countess or whatever, right? Now this should beat those off meta picks, but against Steel, against Grux, you're still gonna have a very hard time. Let's take a look at Steel. Big orange cyborg indeed. Bulrush, mana cost changed from 60 to 80 to 75 flat. That's actually a very good change. After 4 casts of your Q, you know, essentially you level your Q last, right? So after 4 casts of your Q, that would be 5 casts on the old mana cost. So I think this is actually, you know, a very healthy change, because Steel shouldn't be able to Q everywhere he wants, right? Crests, we're going over crests. Okay. Oh, and what this means is Steel's still good. This doesn't matter. Offlane meta is still the same. Steel Grux. Have fun. Also, mid meta is still pretty much the same too. Like Gadget, Faye, Gideon, right? Solo queue, you're looking at Countess. You're looking at Gideon. Faye can be good in solo queue. Gadget can be good in solo queue. But it all depends. very dependent, as where in competitive play, Gadget, Faye, Gideon are just head and shoulders above the rest. Howie, you know, have fun with it. Test it out. I still don't think Howie's very good. I think it's probably about, maybe this brings him up to like a B tier instead of a C tier. But yeah, I don't think he's very good. I think he's very, very overrated, and he's a pub stomp champion. I think if you know how to play against him, you're fine. But if you don't know how to play against him, you're going to get rolled every time. Let's go over items. So we have Rogue Crest, physical power increase from 6 to 8. Assassin Crest, 10 to 12. Okay, so just giving 2 extra damage. So this kind of makes up for, like, for example, the Kolari nerf here, right? We lose a little bit of base damage. Well, we're going, you know, if you're going the Mallet build on Kolari, you're getting a little bit extra love back, which is good. Because you're going into Witch Stalker, right? Tempest. So, yeah, I've never seen Tempest run, but as part of our efforts to combat the many tank mage builds that have cropped up lately while keeping Gideon's Tempest / True Silver build intact, we've tweaked the damage numbers on Tempest. Base damage decreased from 30 to 20, and scaling increased from 10 to 14%. So, essentially, you're going to do more damage at a certain point, right? Early on, you're doing less, but I'm pretty sure by the time you buy this crest, you're already going to be doing more damage than, like, you would pre-patch. So, yeah. Lock Shawl. Interesting item. Cost decreased from 1,300 to 950. Hold on a second. This is very, 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 a very generous buff. Health decreased from 200 to 150. Health regen removed, added 15 magical armor. That's really cool, actually. I like that. So now offlaners and mid laners have a cheap stacking option that they can go. Like if you're falling behind, you can't keep up, you're just getting out poked, and you need a little bit of sustain in mid, for example, you can now buy this item, right? If you're off lane, let's say you're against a Sevarog. Sevarog does mainly magic damage. Let's say, you know, I'm underestimating the Sevarog buffs, and I'm underestimating his strength as a character, right? And let's say you're getting bodied by Sevarog as like Grux or Steel. You can now buy this item. All of a sudden, you're not losing lane, right? So that's really cool. It doesn't give the health regen, but an extra 150 health and the 15 MR really, really matter. Passive reworked. Ooh. Receiving magical damage reduces the source's healing by 20% for 3 seconds. Interesting. Okay, so it comes with like a Grievous Wounds, like an anti-heal, which is very, very interesting. So if I'm playing in mid, for example, let's say I'm playing against a Countess, right? Let's say I'm playing Gadget, and I'm playing against a Countess. That's already a favored matchup for Gadget. But now let's say I tech a Lock Shawl, right? Now, Countess, I'm just going to keep poking her and poking her and poking her. If she ever wants to trade with me, I have my passive. I have my Lock Shawl. She's receiving less healing, so she's going to be taking more damage, right? So, this is kind of insane. Once mid laners start to tech this item, Countess will be in a pretty bad spot. And the recipe was changed. So, it was a Vitality Crystal plus Life Stream. And now it's Vitality Crystal plus Wraps, and of course the Lock Shawl. Or no, sorry. I was thinking Leviathan. Cool. I really like this change. I think this is super cool. I think I'm going to hate it in about a week or two, because I love playing Countess, and people will tend to adapt to things very quickly. Tier 3, Astral Catalyst. Ultimate CDR on takedown decreased from 25% to 20%. Good. Yeah, you should have to wipe a full team to get your ult back. Makes sense, right? The item's like fine, right? It's never a staple on anybody. It's something very good to pick up on like Gadget, situationally on Faye. But aside from that, it's not really gonna see good use. Maybe on Howie, but aside from that, it's not really, you know, it's not a staple for anybody. But I do agree with this change because 25% is a little bit out of line. Augmentation. Help it stand out from other items. Good, okay. Physical power decreased from 30 to 20. Attack speed increased from 30 to 40. You're not really buying this for the attack speed. There are way better attack speed options. I think they just made this item kind of unbuyable. You're buying this item for the true damage passive, right? It adds true damage to your attacks, right? that's like the whole gimmick behind augmentation. And even then, only certain characters would build it. Like, it's very good on Chimera, for example, because you already hit the attack speed cap with your Q. You send a bunch of autos, you get the extra true damage. It's like you're autoing at 100% damage instead of what it reduces it to. So, this item, I struggle to see where it fits in the game now. I struggle to see who buys it. But maybe there'll be some builds that runs this item in time. We'll have to see. Demolisher. Burst ADC builds have been taking over. Yes. Demolisher is a contributor, but not the problem. I swear to God. Additional damage decreased from 50% to 35%. Actually, the first strike. Okay, that's a good change. That's a good change. We'll leave it at that. 50% was too much. This is a really good change. Dust Devil. No one builds this. And there's a reason why. The passive attack speed increased from 2% per stack to 3% per stack, which can actually be pretty big. Movement speed increased from 10 to 15%. So at max stacks, you have like a lot more attack speed, right? And getting extra movement speed on the item is also like nice, right? You're not buying it for damage, you're buying it for the attack speed, right? You're buying it for the stacks. Like, Sparrow loves this item because she can press E, launch a bunch of attacks, right? And then this stacks up, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how the attack speed passive works on this item. So, you know, pretty good. Movement speed is also nice. I can't see anyone other than Sparrow building this item. Maybe you have Drongo teching this item in some weird circumstances. You'll never see this item on Murdoch because Murdoch needs more damage. But I think this item's fine. I think hopefully we get to see more of this and we get to see it play out the way we'd like to. We can get data on it. Legacy. Up until this point, you lost 10 physical power from completing Legacy. So today we've given it the correct amount of physical power while adjusting its haste. I don't know why you needed to get rid of the ability haste to do that. I'll be honest. I mean, 40 power, 20 haste does seem really, really, really broken. But I mean, I'd say nerf it to 15, not 10, right? It was just a mistake. Like this was a mistake, right? You could even label this as a bug fix if you wanted to, right? So this should have just been adjusted. And if they wanted to create a separate nerf, not, you know, correlating the two here, then, you know, maybe go to 15. I think 10 might be a little too steep. I never see anyone buy this item anyway. Maybe that'll change now, but Leviathan, this is a text wall. Let's check this out. I expect the Leviathan changes because of Lock Shawl, so we'll see. Leviathan, from a design standpoint, has been problematic thanks to its potential for mage abuse. Yes, Gadget, I'm looking at you. And its positioning as a must-have item as a haste capstone for tanks. To combat this, we're shifting its identity to new and much-needed anti-heal magic armor item. Okay, that's pretty cool. So let's see. Cost decreased from 3k to 2850. Health decreased from 400 to 350. Health regen decreased from 225 to 150%. That's pretty steep. And added 30 magical armor. Now, I like this. I like the armor. New passive, Blighted Veil. The stats are definitely worse than before, though, I think. Honestly. Because they're better magic armor options, right? So it's all based on the passive. Blighted Veil. Receiving magical damage reduces the source's healing by 40%. So it's another anti-heal item for tanks. So if this is better than, was it Tainted Guard? Then this might be the new Tainted Guard, essentially. New passive, Colossus. Gain 5% damage mitigation, doubled versus targets affected by Blight. Interesting. So the thing here with this item, I can understand what they're going for, right? You can see it. But tell me in what world, unless you're playing Gadget and you throw down your ult, what world, aside from like chasing down a kill or whatever, is the mage or the mid lane AP assassin looking to burst the tank? In what world are they looking to damage the tank, right? Now, this could be something crazy. Let's say you're playing Steel. Let's say you're waiting for your opportunity to go in. Let's say you're playing by your carry. You see the enemy Countess. Let's say Countess, you're standing beside your carry, so Countess jumps onto your carry and hits the right-click button, and then she hits you. Okay, 40% reduced healing, right? And then you stun her and maybe you lock her up or whatever because you're playing Berserker carry. But the point is, unless a weird situation like that happens, I don't see this actually getting value. I see Lock Shawl as a tech item in mid lane and off lane if you're facing AP opponents, but I don't see this item actually being valuable if the player you're facing that's doing all this magic damage understands the game and understands who their targets should be. That being said, you know, like you throw down a gadget ult, you take 10% less damage from gadgets from gadget, right? The 5% flat mitigation is nice. Don't get me wrong, it's very, very good. But I don't see this item actually being good. You know, I think it's one of those items you look at it, you're like, wow, this seems really insane, and then in practice it's not actually anything crazy. But we'll have to see. This is just my initial thoughts, but right now I don't think it's worth it to build Leviathan. I think there's so many other good tank items. You know, you're looking at Fire Blossom, you're looking at Tainted Guard, you're looking at Dynamo, Dynamo's more a support item. You're looking at Raymond, you're looking at, you know, you have these things, right? You have, like, the 5% mitigation is all you buy this for, essentially, is my understanding. Because there's realistically no world where you're getting the anti-heal on the enemy carry unless, like, you go out of your way to take magic damage. You know what I mean? So this actually could be a tech item for Marshall. Marshall, if you guys don't know, adds a flat amount of magic damage to your auto attacks. Very, very good support item. So this could be a tech to Marshall, right? Because then you're doing magic damage, right? And it's not spells, it's just magic damage. Marshall is magic damage. So your carry's hitting. Now he has 40% less healing. So maybe this is an indirect nerf to Marshall. But that's like the only way I can see this. Other than that, I don't think the item's very crazy. Melody, total cost increase from 2,800 to 2,900. Okay, moving on. Mutilator, damage decreased from 1.25% of the target's maximum health to 1% of the target's maximum health. And a maximum health steal decreased from 8% to 5%. So I agree with the health stealing. I don't agree with the damage. Mutilator is only built on certain characters in solo queue, and it's a staple item for Grux, right? But even then, you don't rush it first. You go into something like Bonesaw. That's your first damage item on Grux, right? So you see Mutilator, the 1.25%, so it would be 2.5% when Grux presses right click, is a lot. But I don't think if you just get rid of the health steal, it's not that big of a deal, right? This is what makes the item really, really good on characters like Grux, on certain junglers, right? On even like other offlaners other than Grux. That's just how good the healing is. I don't think you needed to do this. You know? You're just nerfing offlane's damage. You're giving more incentive to run more steal. And this weekend in the tournament, all we saw was steal, right? So, you know, we need incentive to play things other than steal. And right now, we don't have it. This patch, I can easily say, steal is by far the best offlaner. That's it. Nightfall. Total cost decreased from 3,100 to 3K. Recipe changed was Honed Crisp plus Crimson Edge plus Saber. Now Honed Crisp plus Bloodlust. I don't actually remember what Nightfall does because nobody ever buys it because the item kind of sucked from what I remember. I don't know if this is enough to bring it in line. If the build path makes it a little bit nicer to build, maybe you're not sitting on as much gold. Maybe the components don't cost as much. Maybe Bloodlust. I'm not familiar with the item. Maybe Bloodlust has easier components because Saber doesn't have any at all. So this could be a good item. Raymond, increased healing decreased from 20% to 15%. That's fine. Item's still really good. Buy it. It's good. Tainted Guard. Ability haste increased from 10 to 15%. Okay, so tell me this. Omida, please. I need an answer from you. Why would you create Leviathan as a pseudo-tainted guard, right? Give it all of these stats and give it, like, very, very unique conditions where you would build it. And then in the same patch, you buff Tainted Guard. One, how are you going to get the data you need to see if Leviathan's actually performing well, because there's just a better option. So anyone who's decent at the game understands build paths. They're just going to build Tainted Guard. It's just a better option, right? And second, if you're trying to incentivize Leviathan, right? I understand. I'm reading this here. I understand you want the ability haste to be included in Tainted Guard, but right now there's like no reason aside from like a very few sets of unique circumstances that you would actually build Leviathan over Tainted Guard, right? So I don't understand. I really don't. Tainted Guard was already being built a lot anyway, and now it's going to get built a lot more. Tainted Rounds, increased attack speed. I think that's fine. This item kind of felt pretty bad to build as an anti-heal item, but I like the way that I like the attack speed increase. Gives it more incentive. Doesn't feel as bad to build, so that's good. Tainted Totem no longer applies to the holder of Tainted Totem. I don't actually know what the Nirvana passive does, so that's, you know, yeah, look at your own discretion. But I'm assuming this isn't that big of a deal. Oh, apparently this was good on these characters. I don't think so. I don't think Crunch, maybe Rampage. Countess definitely never wants to build something like that. And so, maybe that's what's in your player data, but no, never. Tectonic Mallet had a major bug that meant it was almost a deficit to pick it up. Now we fix this, making this mallet a very powerful item for bruisers that synergizes well with items like Augmentation or Void Helm. Bug Fist. Description now correctly states that Tectonic Mallet grants a 5% additional movement speed. Magical armor decreased from 40 to 30, and the magnitude passive no longer factors in the combat penalty for bonus power. Okay. I understand. That's probably what they're talking about with the bug. Yeah, no one built this item. I don't think. I mean, very few people did, but yeah, this item was kind of trash. Hopefully it's better now, but I see more negatives than positives, so it depends on how big this bug fix is, so we'll have to see. Terminus Terror no longer. Passive. Bug fixed. Fixed bug. The shield could be stacked infinitely. Yes, it could. There was a weird bug with Resolution, Vanquisher, and Terminus, and with these three items, you could just get perma shield. Like, literally 2k HP worth of shields. Meaning, you know, Breach was the best item in the game when somebody built that combination of things, right? But bugs fixed. Let's go. True Silver. Okay, so either they weren't aware they weren't aware of the True Silver bug, or it actually is just people making it up. People say True Silver doesn't activate like 30% of the time. I think that's bullshit. I think they're just getting silenced before they cast their ult as Gideon, or they're getting CC'd before they cast their ults, or they're silenced like at some point, right? Before they press their ult button, and they're thinking they press their ult button, or maybe it's in like a very, very small window where they press their ult button, but True Silver hasn't triggered yet. But I don't think there's ever a situation where this item just doesn't activate. So I think people are capping on that one. Health decrease from 250 to 200. Honestly, it's fine. Doesn't really matter. You're still building this on Gideon. But PSA to all Gideon players, stop building True Silver first item. Pick up your damage items first, then build True Silver. Listen, okay? If you have mana issues, go Alchemical Core or Alchemical Rod into Megacosm. Megacosm does insane damage with your ult, right? Finish your Azure Core, pick up the True Silver, right? If you're behind in lane, you know, maybe opt out of the True Silver right away and maybe go for, like, unless your ult is going to be massive for during team fights, maybe go for a Kostka, go for Pen, go for more damage, right? When you're behind, you need damage so you can catch back up, you can kill people, you can catch back up into the game. So, yeah. But stop building True Silver first item. Void Helm. Justicar passive. Movement speed increased from 10% to 15%. Okay, Void Helm was already good, from what I understand, so it's just good. So, quick rundown. Leviathan, I don't think there's a reason to build it. Lockshaw's a good tech item in mid. The crests are interesting. I'm not really sure. I mean, these, you know, just straight stat buffs. Doesn't really do anything, maybe in some unique circumstances. Tempest does more damage. You know, Some of these items they just completely gutted. Some of them they, you know, gave the Leviathan treatment and just did nothing essentially. They're like, hey, look at this really cool item that we have that we want to turn into something else, but also, hey, look at Tainted Guard. Yeah. As far as champions go, we'll just reiterate quickly here. Steel is the best offlaner. Severog can be good into not Grux, and it might be even be good into Grux now because Mutilator is worse than it used to be. I shouldn't say good. I should say playable. Narbash is still Narbash. This doesn't make him playable. This doesn't make him good. Richter and Decker still exist. Go pick those. Chimera, literally no change. It's just changed the description. So if you're playing Chimera before, keep playing Chimera. It doesn't really matter. Kolari, you can still play Kolari. Kolari is perfectly playable. Just don't expect to win early trades with her. Like, I'm talking like, let's say you're taking her into offlane. Don't expect to win early trades. Right? It's going to be harder. The Howie change, I think Howie's still not up to par with the other mid laners, but I do like to see this change. I think this is a very good change. I wouldn't recommend picking Howie, maybe under a unique set of circumstances where I don't even know if he has good matchups. I really don't think he does. Grux is still Grux, right? He just takes more damage from trades now, and it's harder to lane him. Steel Supremacy. Gadget, very good. Drongo, very good. Decker, very good. Countess, if you're a Countess player, keep picking her in solo queue. She'll still do fine. Maybe people will build Leviathan under some weird set of circumstances. Just don't hit them. But aside from that, I mean, Countess is still fine. Just remember that you can't land as many autos in your queue. So make sure you remember to make it a point to get used to this new queue timing. But that being said, that's basically the entire patch. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. You all are beautiful people. I'll see you guys in the next video.